right, welcome to another Fishing Academy. This one is the best rigs for kingfish and Spanish mackerel. Now, you know we're getting right into the season. Water temperature is going to hit 72 on a steady basis pretty soon. We got a few cold fronts left. You know what's going to happen. Mackerel are going to move up. Kingfish will start making their run towards Texas, and we're going to be ready to catch them. So I thought we'd do a little segment on, fishing for mackerel and kingfish. So let's start with mackerel first in Tampa Bay. They'll get as far as the Courtney Campbell Causeway, all the way to the Skyway. That's inside what I consider inside Tampa Bay. Now, where's the best places? If you look on the chart that's on the screen, I have a little place there that I kind of marked it a little bit. Anywhere that there's a bar, anywhere that you have some kind of not a sandbar, but lime rock, and there's plenty of them, that you got 8, 10, 12 feet of water, and it comes up to 5, 6, 7 feet, 4 feet in some areas. That's going to be a place where the bait is going to get pushed over that bar. And if there's bait being pushed over the bar, you're going to find mackerel during mackerel season. The other places that's kind of an easy target is going to be the artificial reefs in Tampa Bay. Now, you have one that's in the Courtney Campbell Causeway. You got one by Howard Franklin. You got one in front of Port Tampa. You got the Apollo Beach, all the way to the Skyway. Any range marker, any places that will hold bait is going to hold mackerel. Just remember that. The other thing too is look for diving birds. If you see a whole bunch of diving birds, guess what? Good chance there's going to be some mackerel. And we're going to cover some baits for that later on. But if you're in the Tampa Bay, that's where I would start. I would look at my chart, look at your GPS, and look for any areas, and you'll see it on the chart. There's these humps or an artificial reef. Start there. And we're going to be talking a little bit about chumming too. So that'll be a little later on the show. Now, if I'm going offshore, and offshore you got mackerel and you got kingfish. Well, if there's mackerel, there's going to be some kingfish during kingfish season. Where do you go? Same thing. Look at your charts. Number 1, Egmont Channel. Always, there's some kingfish around there. There's always a lot of mackerel. Go out, look at the artificial reefs. There's a whole bunch up and down the coast from St. Pete all the way up to Clearwater. You're going to find mackerel. You're going to find some kingfish there. One of the biggest places for years for kingfish has been markers 4 and 5. The channel going out around the Whistler is another good area for kingfish during kingfish season. And what I tell everybody, something I learned at a young age that an old guy taught me when I was a young guy. And he said, Sergio, don't try to be the first one out there trying to find the kingfish. Let somebody else find them for you. And so what does that mean? You get out there, get your bait, take your time, cut a bunch of bait up, have your chum made up, and then about 8:30, 8:15, come out of Bunce's Pass or John's Pass, look out into the Gulf and look for what I call the parking lot. And what that means is you're going to see a whole bunch of boats out there together. They found the fish for you. They found the kingfish. So don't be the first one out there going crazy, burning fuel, trying to find the kingfish. By 8:15, believe me, you'll see a parking lot during kingfish season. If the weather allows it, you're going to see them out there. Head to the parking lot. Now you know that's a general area where they're catching some kingfish. Doesn't mean you have to get inside that parking lot to catch kingfish, but it gives you a general area of where to start to fish. Now, as far as tackle goes, for mackerel, I like to use light tackle. I use a 2500 reel, 10-pound test line. I use a long leader, fluorocarbon leader, about 3 foot long. I start with 20 If they start cutting me off a lot, then I'll switch over to something heavier. But I like 20 to 25. It just seems I get better action out of it. And one of the secrets for catching mackerel is that instead of using a wire leader for mackerel, I prefer just to use a long shank hook. And I've got one rigged up here with a piece of wire because I use it both for mackerel and kingfish. But actually, right here, as you can see, that's a double extra long 1/0 J hook. And that works perfect. And the reason for that is years ago, everybody wanted wire for mackerel. Well, after you get 2 mackerel, this wire gets all tangled up and twisted. You have to wind up replacing the whole rig. You don't want to sit there and cut the leader and put another one on. So all we do is we use a double extra long 1/0 J hook. That almost acts like a piece of wire as a leader. Yeah, you're going to lose more. I would say that out of, let's say, 20 hits, you might lose 3 or 4 mackerel that'll cut you off, maybe. Where with wire, maybe they don't. But on the long run, it's a lot cheaper just to replace a hook real quick than sit there and have to replace the whole rig because it's all twisted up. So that's what we usually use. We use a single, number 1, triple or double extra long. There's even some triple extra long J hooks. That kind of covers it pretty good. Now, well, if I'm fishing for kingfish, now I go into something a little heavier. I'll go into like a 4,000 or 5,000 reel. 4,000, I can put 30-pound braided, fins braided on it. I can put about maybe 200 yards, which is more than enough. And that seems to do a good job. I will run 40-pound, at least 3 feet of fluorocarbon leader. And then I do my rigging, which I'll talk to you about in just a minute. But 3 to 4 feet of 40-pound fluorocarbon leader, that seems to work real good. I like a good like 7.3 medium heavy type rod, because if you happen to get one of those big kingfish, medium heavy works really good. Heavy, I think, is too much. But a medium heavy, 7.3, 7.5 foot rod, I like long rods, will work good. With a 4,000, you should always have a 5,000 on board with 50-pound test in case you see some big fish. And it happens. I've gotten some pretty big kingfish in my lifetime, and you needed something heavier. But overall, 40-pound braided works really good. Again, 3 to 4 feet of 40-pound fluorocarbon. And now about the rigs. Here's where the fun's going to start. As far as the rigs go, we got single hook, like I showed you right here. I put about 8 inches of number 39 wire, 39-pound coffee wire with a double extra long shank, almost like same hook that I'm using for mackerel, but as a single. And this works good on smaller baits when the kingfish are smaller. So if you got kingfish that are running in the 30 inches, maybe 35 inches, something like that, this will work pretty good. And you got smaller baits, it's perfect because they will hit the hook. Now, what will happen is you're going to go into a area where you're going to start using some of the bigger baits that we recommend. Now you're going to need a different setup, and you need a double hook system. This is a double hook setup. I've got a 2/0 J hook. I got another 2/0 J hook facing in the opposite direction. And then what I do is I slide over the barb a soft bead, and what that does, it keeps the hook on the other hook. So I go eye to eye. The idea is that the first hook I put through the nose of the bait. Your second hook, it all depends on the bait. If you're trolling or you got a pretty good current, just let it hang. The whole idea is that when this kingfish comes and he strikes that bait because you're using a bigger bait. If he cuts it in half, you're going to get him on that second hook. On the smaller bait, you'll get him on the first hook. But most of the time, for the big kingfish, you're running those blue runners, those bigger Spanish sardines. It's a big bait. You got to think that the nose is here. That bait is about that long. He tries to cut you in half. You need that extra guarantee right there. This is a very common method that a lot of people, and it's the easy way of doing it. Now, if I was going to go and I'm using blue runners, or I'm using extremely longer baits, or the current isn't as strong, this is what I love. I use a little 1J hook, almost, but instead of putting a hook through the eye, I got a 1J hook. Then I got a number 4 treble hook. And here's where you got to be careful. This is a 4X hook. It's 4 extra strong. It's welded. The shank is welded together. So that hook is not going to come apart, and it's extremely, extremely strong. I mean, real strong. Now, what you do with this is, especially you're trolling with Spanish sardines, blue runners, or whatever, this little hook will go right through the nose, doesn't hurt the fish. Then you get the treble part of the hook, and you put it just behind or right on top of the top fin of that bait. And what it will do is, again, and it's called a stinger rig, because most of the time, with a big kingfish, you're going to catch them on this treble hook. And that's why it's important that you get that triple extra strong treble hook, and it's a welded hook. So it doesn't come apart and you don't lose a big fish. But this is an easy way of doing it, and it's great for trolling. It's great if you got any kind of current going. This works perfect. Now we're going to get into another scenario, and the way I like to do it, I like to get to an area where either I'm going to anchor up and I start chumming. So I want to, if I know the fish are there, try to get the fish behind me. I enjoy that more than I do the trolling part. So there's a couple of ways you can do that to make it work and you don't lose as many fish. Is you want to drop back method. And what that is, and there's a couple of ways of doing it. One of them is this little gadget right here. It's called the Ghost. And all it does, it mounts right on your reel, and you'll see a picture of this right there. Now, this is in the rod holder. You got your line out where you want it. You grab the tip of the line, bring it all the way down here, and it acts like an outrigger clip. You put your line right here. You set the tension that you want. Now, what happens is your line is almost like a flat line behind the boat. When a kingfish comes, most of the time he's going to hit that bait. And especially if you're slow trolling. He strikes that bait, and let's say you miss him. That bait's moving. He won't go after that bait. You lost him. But with this method is if he hits that bait and he breaks it loose, it's a drop back. It does two things. It lets the bait kind of drift a little bit before the boat pulls it or the current takes it. So he might come back and hit it. The second is if he does get it and he's running with it, if it's just set, that rod is going to just jerk on it. And you could pull the hook out. So with this method is he takes that bait, he starts to run with it. He's got about 7 feet swallowing that bait before that hook gets set. So this is a real easy way of doing it. I love to do it. It's basically an outrigger clip for a rod. Now, if you don't want to do that, here's another method that before the Ghost came out that we always used all the time, and I still use it. Have you a little cord, and here's an outrigger clip right there. Same thing. What you do is You put the rod in the rod holder, you bring the line to this, you clip it on here, except you tie this in around your line cleat on the back of the boat. And now what happens is, here's the back of the boat. This is out like this. The line's in here, coming from the tip of the rod down to this, and you got another flat line. When that kingfish comes and he pops it, he pulls this out of this little socket. Same thing. You got about a 7.5 foot drop back. You got enough time that kingfish has a chance to swallow that bait. And that means you got a real good chance of really hooking that fish. So that's another a really good method that you can do. The other one that I like to do, especially when you're anchored up, and I love, like I said, I love just chumming and anchoring up, is you can use a float like I had right here. And what you do is you're chumming and you just feed it line. Give yourself about 4 feet of leader with that live bait. And just let it go behind the boat until you hardly can't see the float. You don't have a hit. Start all over. That's one good way. Another method, you'll see a picture of this. It's a little clip that clips on your line. You inflate the balloon goes on this, and this is your float. What happens is, you buy this like at any little, it's just a kid's balloon. There, you can buy them, I think, at Dollar Tree or whatever. You get a whole bag for about $1. What it does is, as soon as that kingfish hits it and he starts to run with it, he pulls it down, the balloon will pop. Now, the advantage is, you're not fighting the fish in a big float. You're basically just fighting the fish because the balloon pops, and the only thing that's left on the line is this little gadget right here. And this is spring clipped, so you just squeeze it on your line, and that's it. And it's made so the balloon just snaps in there. You don't have to you don't tie the balloon up or anything. So that's another good little thing for drop back. And then the other one is, if you're trolling or if there's a lot of current, I tell you, this has been a killer, this little teaser right here. It's just, think about it, it's a stinger rig. Here's a hook right there that we talked about before, and there's your treble hook. But what it does, it's got just a little weight in the front, and what it does, it keeps that bait from coming up to the surface and spinning. It'll keep that bait about almost a foot underwater, which is ideal. And actually, this color to me, anything that's got chartreuse, some yellow, it draws attention. So if you got any kind of current, or if you're slow trolling, this is a great way. Put your little skirt, about a 1/4 ounce head on it. That's the way it comes with a stinger rig. And that'll help you catch a lot of fish. Now, let's talk about baits. The most common bait that you're going to use is going to be a scaled sardine, or what we call a greenback. We catch that in Tampa Bay during the season all year long. That's the best bait you want to do, and you'll see it on the screen. I've got a picture of it. I would use that one for mackerel anytime. Even you'll catch some small kingfish on it, especially if you can get the little bigger ones. But you don't want a big bait for mackerel. Mackerel don't have a real big mouth. So sometimes everybody thinks, I want this big bait. A lot of times they'll just cut your bait in half, or they'll rip the bait off the hook. So to me, about that size bait, maybe about a 3.5-inch bait, is ideal to catch mackerel with a 1-aught hook. I'm telling you, that's the best way to do it. Now, for kingfish, we got thread fins, we got blue runners, we got Spanish sardines, we got just about everything. But to me, a Spanish sardine is long. For some reason, the big kingfish love them. And the big kingfish, definitely, they love blue runners. I love to catch these 8-inch blue runners like that, about an 8-inch blue runner, use a stinger rig. And let me tell you, you'll see the picture at the end of the show here. I had a 69-pound kingfish that I caught. And then, a bunch of them in the 30s and the 40s, but that was the biggest one I've ever caught. He was 69 and a half pounds, and he was over 5 feet. He was about 5 feet 4 inches long. So he was a big daddy, real big daddy. Now, to do all of this, we got a chum, and all you got to do is when you get a bunch of greenbacks, just have a good pair of scissors and just cut a bunch of them up. Have them pre-cut and put them in a bucket. I don't like chum bags because you buy this already pre-made chum, and what happens is half of it is bones. After a while, the bag is all clogged up with the little pieces of bones because it's just a bunch of fish carcass that they run through a grinder, and it's okay. But for $12 a bag, I don't think it's that efficient anymore. If you're catching greenbacks, keep a little bucket, throw a bunch of greenbacks in there, throw a little bit of ice on it, and have somebody start cutting them. You can cut a 3-inch, 3.5-inch greenback into 3 pieces, and just keep them on a little bit of ice on the floor next to you. And then all you got to do is just throw a little bit at a time, not a lot, just a little bit right in back of the boat so that the current will actually spin it around and you'll see it. You don't want it just to come up to the top, because if it floats to the top, you're going to get the birds. The birds come, that's not going to help you any. So if you cut them with a pair of scissors, that gets the air out of their bladder. And if you throw it right behind the boat, as the current runs through, it forms a little swirl, and that bait will actually go towards the bottom, and then the current will take it away. And that'll bring the mackerel up to you. So, the end result is going to be some big mackerel and some nice kingfish. And I hope that was helpful to you. Good luck, tight lines, and let's go catch them.